shape and created a wall. I helped the centaur looks more strong than the old one. I want to make more detail, but I don't know how to start. We just have 2 weeks. I wish I could finish the basic sculpture and know how to make high-level detail of at least one part of my project. Thank you so much. Well, it kind of depends on, this is about ZBrush concept iteration, getting your ideas out quickly. If you want to take a human sculpting course, you can probably do that. It would be a little bit more, I can't make a class just for, hey, this is how to use ZBrush, but also just how to make a centaur with armor, because then it would be a centaur armor course, which would be totally fine. I wouldn't mind making that class, or maybe an organic modeling class, or a creature design class, or there's a million, like everybody's submissions are a million different things because it's literally just a ZBrush for concept and iteration. So basically what you've done here is get your idea out, and you've done modifications you've made. Let me go back to your file here. You've gone through, and you've adjusted it. You made this one and then you adjusted it to be this one, and then you've started adding your blockout armor and stuff. So if you're new to ZBrush and you don't know all of the techniques, and you're going through and you're just learning stuff as you go, pick and choose your battles. I wouldn't expect you to be brand new to ZBrush and then all of a sudden be able to make an entire fully fledged armor creature detail to the max with armor. I mean, I can do that because I've been doing this for 15 years. So if I was to take this class and I didn't have, I worked on this half time, but if you were just like, hey, I literally work on this 60 hours a week, all I'm taking is this class, then maybe you could do an entire character with a weapon arm and detail it out to the max using the techniques that you've learned. But of course, if you're just working on this part-time and you're just learning the software, be smart, pick and choose your battles. Don't expect too much out of yourself as far as like, being able to accomplish more than you would be able to. So if you wanted to be like, okay, most people, what they do, if they want to do an entire character, they'll usually find out like, hey, I can block out an entire character very quickly. But as far as detailing out an entire character, learning a program and working part-time, that's a little unrealistic. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, let's take half of this object, maybe take just the bust and detail this out, or maybe even just take the head with this collar and the chest and the helmet, and then maybe his weapon or something like that. But I don't know. I can't dictate how much time you spend on this, or how familiar you are with the program. Some people already know ZBrush and they want to learn more. Some people have never seen ZBrush before in their life, and so they're trying to learn ZBrush and create something. So I can't cater my class to just one type because I get all types here. So what I would do is possibly just pick something. Or if you want to go through and refine this guy later, that's fine, because there's really no point for a concept and iteration class to go through and fully detail out a centaur if you're going to not be able to detail out any hard surface stuff, because you're only going to learn how to detail out a creature sculpt, which by itself isn't out of the realm of what you can do with what you've learned. It's basically, and if you go back through the some of the feedback we've gone through with other students, you'll see a lot of like, hey, if you want to take this to the next level, you can go through here, then you can start basically, you put in your bony landmarks, and then you can start dialing in. First we've got to go through here. Let's turn off lazy sim and crank this up, and we'll go through and we'll you put in your bony landmarks first, so you can kind of just dial in these here, and then where the rib cage goes, and the out through here you've got your serratus anterior, and then you've got your obliques going up into here, and you'll have like 4 of those. And get out your anatomy books. Really, when it comes to like creature sculpting and stuff and character sculpting, it's about observation, and just learning like, okay, the serratus anterior is going to be a little more rounded, and the obliques are going to be stretched thin over the underlying structure of the object here. And you just go through and you get out your anatomy books and you get out your reference, and you just go through and just refine as you go. Now, if you spend all of your time making a beautiful half human, half horse centaur, you're probably not going to get much as far as like Boolean operations or panel loops or any of that kind of stuff. So again, you'll just have to pick and choose your battles as to like what you want to accomplish. If you want this to be like an anatomy sculpting course, there's probably better courses to take on that. you know, so it's really just kind of like getting your idea out quickly, learning the techniques, and then applying those techniques. If you want to take something more specialized, like I want to take a creature sculpting course, then you can use all the techniques that you've learned in that creature sculpting course. But I think what you've done here is good. I think what you've got is solid as far as just like a solid block out. You've got the shape of the horse, you've got your idea in place. So now it's just a matter of picking and choosing something to go through in detail. Luckily, what we have coming up next is surface techniques. So here we go through, first we start out remeshing and then projecting your details back to just a nice clean mesh. And then UV stuff, and then we got surface noise. This gets a little bit weird into like tiling, hard surface noise, and then nanomesh and fiber mesh, which will be useful for like small surface details or sometimes even entire scene generation, depending on how you want to use it. And then fiber mesh can also be used for like grass and weeds or trees, or just little tiny things like stubble on a face. Micro mesh, poly paint, fiber mesh, and that kind of stuff. So this is more, depending on how you treat it, it's more surface stuff. But if you are looking to just detail stuff out, that's really just techniques on, rebuilding stuff or using IMM brushes, curve brushes. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's like an ornate lion helmet. You can go through any of these, and you can. I mean, this is a little bit old, but if you wanted to make like a really ornate lion helmet and rebuild it, and then go through and detail it out, and use IMM brushes and project, use brush projection and stuff. This is just modeling it out. We would want something like ornamentation refine. So you can see a bunch of different techniques on kind of going through and just trying brush strokes and then using IMM brushes and curves to just kind of get these details and stuff like this. So depending on the type of detail you want to do, it's all the techniques that you've learned. It's just putting those together. So I'll go ahead and link you to this here. Let's see. And I brought this up before too. A lot of students have been doing similar work, not the same as a centaur with armor or anything like that, but just at least like, hey, we're kind of making a medieval helmet and detailing it out and stuff like that. Going back through your images here, I don't have. So yeah, you're doing ideation through here, and it looks like you've got some ornate stuff in here. So watch those videos, and you can just click through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's nothing that wouldn't be out of what you've already learned. And then you can go use images or alphas to go through, and you can stamp. And then even this stuff here could be surface noise, or it can be just rock detail that you can go through and either alpha stamp or chisel. Like you said, and you can also go through here and you can refine this anatomy if you want to pull in, for example. This will probably make it a little bit easier. Just for like quick reference, is just bringing in from unit 0 or unit 1, I forget, the body male, and just go ahead. I'm going to insert this here, drag it out, and then body male, I'm going to deformation unify, and then we're going to scale this up here. I'm going to push this back here, and then now I can kind of use that as reference. So if I want to go through here, I mean, you don't have to keep his body type. You can change the body type to be more Hulk-like. So you can exaggerate a lot of these things, but this is just useful to kind of get your masses kind of set up here and make sure that you're what you're expecting for your proportions and your volumes are somewhat believable. And again, you can over crank it like you have here. It can be a very, very beefy style person, but at least you can look at the origins and the attachments and the surface detail and kind of make decisions based on, underarms and making sure you're putting in the right detail and making it believable, and also where your bony landmarks end up here. So you can go back here and you can say, okay, you've got a bony landmark here. And then his triceps aren't ultra defined here. In fact, they look, they're a little bit, they're certainly not like bodybuilder style, but you can go through again like you have here, and you can go through your reference and you can see where the short head and the long head end up, and then go in here and exaggerate with your Damien standard, how much of this is going to be cut in And a lot of times I find that going through and cutting in here, so, and then going through and making decisions on like, okay, here I want this to be the brachialis, and then up here I actually want this to go a little bit higher because this plugs in between the brachialis and the tricep here. And then go to the side here, and we can kind of bump this out a little bit here because it's going to be high to low for the bulge of the brachioradialis, like so. So, and again, that's just observation and detailing and going through with your brushes, and then Z-remeshing, which we'll get into in Unit 5 and Unit 6, and then you can go through and you can pose this guy. But yeah, giving this, but again, in order for me to be like, okay, let me add 6 more hours to this course to go through anatomy sculpting, it's kind of outside of the scope of this, because if somebody wants to come in and do, hey, I don't care about anatomy, I just want to do ZBrush for weapons, then, I wasted a lot of everybody's time teaching them anatomy and creature sculpting. But, keep going through the techniques, and we'll be getting into more detail next week.